Hello everyone, never fear, the LPL is here as we zoom in here to the Snake Pit, the Chongqing Arena for Snake Esports as they prepare for their first matchup here today, Snake versus BLG. Now, Snake haven't been having the most successful season so far. Their only series win has come from an EDG who, prior to last night, were looking fairly shaky. And we're going to have a little bit more on that later, but I am Matt Iberic Daniel. I am joined here by Clement Chu here in Week 5, Day 1 of the LPL. And Clement, I mentioned it briefly. We're going to mention it again. EDG versus RNG last night was absolutely insane.
It was a monster of a series, the best set that we've seen so far. Everything you could possibly hope for from the finals rematch last year really did happen here. Great team fights, Uzi playing at tip-top form. We saw a triple kill from him. We saw EDG under their new coach, Hart, really come out with a strong 5v5 showing as well. It was about as good as you could possibly imagine.
It's just beautiful to see both of these teams shaping up, coming back together. RNG, now that they have Uzi back after the Chinese New Year, they're looking just as good as ever, and EDG showed a side of them that we have not yet seen this split.
Yeah, just the willingness to go in all the time in a 5v5 setting. And I also have to say, yesterday Karsa was a star player, getting that Game 1 MVP, the best team fighting that we've seen on a Xin Zhao. Multiple times in team fights, he got that 5-man swipe on the Crescent Guard just to break apart the enemy compositions and let Uzi do his thing in the back end.
You know, we were calling it the match of the week, and it certainly deserves that status. It was so absolutely fantastic. But if you missed it, first of all, you should absolutely go check it out. And if you're wondering exactly how to do that, just look down a little bit. I know our faces are very attractive and therefore hard to look away from, but look down there. You'll find YouTube channels where you can check it out, watch them over and again. You can see the full VOD. You can go for highlights. You know, viewer's choice, really. And off that last game, you know, Best of the Rift has come out now. And last game, Ming proved himself on the team and proved his place here in the LPL yet another time.
There's no way that you let Alistar go through the ban list against a player like Ming. 3-man knockups to start the fight against EDG, and we're going to look at the rest of the Best of the Rift. Zoom in the top lane, no surprise right there. A great performance on Swain, and of course taking down IG previously. Karsa, like we mentioned, great series with the Xin Zhao, and then Doinby. I can't believe Doinby's done it again, but 50% of his team's damage on a Lissandra game. That's absolutely a monstrous stat. You're supposed to be a crowd control mage, not a main damage dealer. At least, last but not least, we do have Gala winning the rookie AD carry matchup against Zhang Wuji from Rogue Warriors to snag their spot on Best of the Rift as well.
It's so exciting to see that even these teams that are in the lower echelons of the LPL still have players, still have plays that are making themselves into the top. Of course, we saw LGD take a win over IG, which was absolutely insane. This week has just been crazy for the LPL these past few series, and now the standings look a little bit mixed up. You know, we still have Fun plus Phoenix there at the top, absolutely undefeated, but Invictus starting to fall down. You know, EDG has fallen into the bottom half for the first time this split.
Ooh, EDG not having the greatest start, but I feel like they played a series they should feel proud of. It was a new start from them. They really did show the best form all split long, so I'm actually not worried about them. But the people I am worried about, like you were talking about, Invictus Gaming, and then at the bottom of the standings, and a team that we're going to touch on today, Snake Esports.
Snake have been, as I said earlier, not having the greatest of seasons, and I think that's a little bit of an understatement. But they're going to be looking to prove themselves here in their matchup versus BLG, and following that, we're going to see one of our Best of the Rift winners, Zoom, there in JDG versus TOP with a very hype mid lane matchup. But let's go back and talk about Snake a little bit, because one of their big problems has been coming into the mid lane. Mala just hasn't been able to get a whole lot of proactivity going, not a whole lot of pressure coming out of that lane. He's been playing it very defensively and very passively, but today we're going to have a very special mid laner coming in. Andy is going to be here in the LPL for the very first time in Week 5.
There's a lot of hype behind this young new player. Raz has probably mentioned it multiple times, but this is the starting mid laner that he wants to see for Snake in Chongqing. He is known as an assassin main. Look at those champion pools. The Echo, the Yasuo must ban, and also play Zed off meta as well. So this is going to add so much pressure to Kuro, who we've seen doesn't have the best performances against these assassin heavy players like Icon or Yagao, who he's going up against. I think the upper limits for Andy, everyone's kind of looking at him and saying, hey, is this going to be a Night Light? Because we've seen the Echo play pop up again and again, and this is something that's going to add a lot more early game punch to Snake's game plan and a great matchup against Kuro.
I especially like it because Snake now have threats in both of their solo lanes, and against BLG, this is a great test because ADD in the top lane, Kuro in the mid lane, both of them are able to play very safely, very securely, and Snake is going to challenge that here. Of course, BLG, ADD in the top lane, Meteor in the jungle, providing a little bit of much-needed aggression, Kuro in the mid lane, and Jin Jiao and Kina filling out the bottom lane together.
Yep, Kina, the only real change of the roster right there. They were running Mini previously, but let's move on to Snake.
Snake Flandre in the top lane, we've mentioned him 1,000 times, and he deserves it. SOFM as well, and Andy, the new superstar coming in from the LDL, making his debut today, and Asura and Maestro filling out the bottom lane there. Now, we haven't talked much about the junglers here, but it's going to be an interesting one because Meteor and SOFM have two very different styles.
Yeah, Meteor is someone that wants to establish safe vision for BLG early on, just to protect his solo lanes, make sure his bot lane can continue to push. That is their early game strategy, get that first tower in the bot side. So he plays this game where he's trying to find out where the enemy jungle is and make sure that he can't gank their lanes. Now, it's going to be a cat and mouse situation because what SOFM is most known for is avoiding contact and avoiding people finding out where he actually is on the map. That's actually how he keeps pressure, by staying invisible. And if we saw the vision scores right there pop out, he's been doing a very good job at controlling the map on his end as well, making sure his solo lanes are safe, making sure that the Snake, who do play a bit of a slower early game, can't get to the teamfight phases.
Well, they do typically play a slower early game, but you know, against IG, I was really happy to see how much they'd improved in that aspect, because usually Snake has problems throughout most of the game, but in their series versus IG for the first 20 minutes, they took absolute control. They had a gold lead, they kept it all the way up till basically when Baron spawned, and then things went a little bit south for them, but it shows that they've made progress with their experimentation.
That is the biggest win condition for me on BLG's side. They're so much more solid when it comes to objective control. Talking about Baron, 4th place in the LPL in terms of getting that first Baron down. And let's move into the draft phase. A lot of respect shown at Andy, the new player, right away. Yasuo's going to be off the table.
Already the Yasuo ban and the other two bans, No Nonsense, Akali, and Aatrox being taken out. And the response from Snake, the Camille, and the Zoe. Of course, Camille is one of those huge picks for Meteor. He loves to go aggro towards the enemy jungler, and taking that away will do a lot to clamp down on his champion pool.
These are the exact same bans that JD Gaming threw against BLG yesterday, so they're taking away safe options from Kuro. Remember, the Galio's no longer really in the meta, and Zoe would be his second best champion. So I like where Snake is going. They're setting up the stage for a potential showdown between Andy and Kuro that they have to face head on.
It'll be interesting here if this lock-in comes out from Snake onto the Thresh, because that is a lot of priority to put down into the bottom lane so early into the draft. Yes, the Lucian was picked up by BLG, and maybe you want to deny that strong lane, but that's a lot. That's maybe you're missing a solo laner. Maybe you're missing a jungler.
I actually do like that idea. Like, Asura is the type of player that could potentially pull out the Kalista. The Kalista is one of the few champions that does actually have a decent matchup against Lucian, who's a lane bully himself. So by placing him there, it is putting something in the back of BLG's minds. They do have to go for some very, very strong bot lane just to negate that, and I think Alistar is the pick that they are looking to do it for.
Alistar gives you so much engage, a little bit of sustain in the lane. He just brings a lot of things that you're looking for in a bottom lane. So now BLG has secured a strong bottom lane and a good neutral solo laner in that Urgot. Yeah, he's been nerfed, but he's still that safe first pick.
Just a small note, the Urgot is not a flex pick for BLG. Kura has not touched a champion, so most likely going towards the top lane, ADD's favorite pick so far. But it does leave them open to a lot of counters. Namely, I feel like Flandre must have the York in his back pocket. He's always been known for pulling creative champion pulls, so I feel like BLG are going to have a couple bans just to make sure ADD can have a great game. On the other side, we see Snake actually going for a lot more comfortable picks. They're putting a lot more emphasis on Asura, giving him the Kaisa. He is their main damage dealer. And Andy, unfortunately for us, is probably not going to be showing up on one of those assassins.
I mean, maybe if Flandre could take the Lissandra top. You were talking about how, you know, Flandre likes to play weird things. He does like to play things that can initiate into the top lane, so maybe the Lissandra. I'm just holding out hope, guys, because I really wanted to see like the Echo or something crazy in Andy's first game. But doesn't look like we're going to see that. Instead, BLG, like you said, focusing down, taking away the Yorick from Flandre, and I like that Snake took away the Olaf from Meteor.
Yep. BLG, very straightforward game plan. Meteor has to go into the enemy jungle to make sure that his lanes can continue to push out. So taking away those strong solo options has been the counter that JD Gaming figured out. And this really doesn't bode well for BLG. A lot of teams know their tricks, have read their system very well, and we can see Snake pretty much copy and pasting the strategy used by JD Gaming in this match so far. Now, if we look at Snake, one of the key things that they like to do in their drafts is they actually hide their jungler position to the very last pick quite often. They really like to have SOFM be a bigger factor than most other teams look for their junglers.
Okay, so Clement, we were expecting an assassin, but, you know, I'll take a Victor any day. Where do you think this is going to go? Because it could go over to Andy, but we haven't recently seen him play it. Could go over to Flandre, I guess, but this is a weird change in the draft.
It's most likely still going to be in towards the top side. It's just a very safe farm lane against the Urgot. Not much the Urgot can do to close the gap against the Victor. So I think that's where they're going to go with the composition. It's a very strong late game comp that can play a lot of dances. They can go back and forth. They have the engage and also the disengage factors on the composition done. So I like Snake's comp. It's a bit late. It's a bit of a late game comp for me, but it has a lot of strong pieces to play out the 5v5. On BLG's side, we do see the Kha'Zix lockdown. Meteor did play that previously, but the problem with the pick is that not the best early game to influence the lanes. So if something goes wrong in one of these solo lanes, we could see the same trouble that BLG ran into against the JD Gaming series.
Like you said, this is looking kind of like an echo of their series versus JDG. Snake saw what gave BLG trouble before, and they say, yeah, we can work with that, and we can use it to our advantage, work towards our style, and we have a chance of bringing home our second series win against BLG, who are currently towards the top half of the standings. This would be a good win for Snake in terms of results, but also in terms of mentality. They can win again, and I think Andy's the person to help them do it.
The Lissandra is going to have to be a very big pick here, because if you look at the Victor and the bot side with the Kaisa Thresh, these two side lanes are very, very slow in getting things started. And I think that's the biggest advantage to BLG's draft so far, is that they can come out very, very strong in terms of their laning phases. They don't have to worry about their solo lanes kind of collapsing, which has been basically the only reason that they've been losing series so far. So I think they basically taken away most of their weaknesses in their previous games, and they still have that strong bot side. Jin Zhao has been BLG's best player so far in the split. With him on Lucian, I feel like BLG have a very rock solid start. However, on Snake's side, this is kind of typically what they do. Not a lot of emphasis on the early game, a lot of faith in themselves to pull it out of the bag in the late game team fights. And once again, that's what they're going to be banking on.
It'll be interesting to see how they change their engaged strategies, because normally Flandre, you put him on something like the Akali, like the Vladimir, that can sort of take a flank position and get the engages. But Victor, he doesn't have that kind of mobility. Sure, he has his W and he can slow around, but it's not an engaged champion. So I'm interested to see if they just want Andy to take up that role now that they have a more active mid lane.
Definitely could be the case. If you look at the composition, however, Snake also very, very AP heavy towards the later half of the game. So I think we're going to see some item adjustments, or they're going to have their AD carries really play up.
We'll see if Snake is able to take their second series win here coming into game 1 of Snake versus BLG. Wow, the Snake Pit is a dangerous place to be for a BLG fan. That was... They sounded like they were being threatened slightly.
Tongchi fans are loyal.
Oh no. Okay, SOFM, you're scaring me, man, but that does mean he had to start the safeguard level 1.
Oof, that's going to be quite rough. This is going to force him to have a leash at the very least, so you do see him moving towards the bot side of the map.
BLG likewise headed towards the bot side, so I think Meteor has an idea of what he wants to do now. He says, okay, SOFM, you're going to have to start bottom lane. You have your W. Oh, he's not getting leashed, it looks like.
Huh. Another interesting decision. Safeguard will keep him sustained up, but it's definitely not something you want to take first. It will slow down his clear quite a bit, so it's up to Meteor to see if he can actually abuse some of that. And Snake just trying to keep their bottom lane as ahead as possible, because that's a very difficult matchup. The Alistar is considered a bit of a counter into the Thresh, and likewise the Lucian should have the better side of the matchup as well. They're just going to leave SOFM to his own devices and make sure that Asura can be that damage carry earlier on.
Well, if you're going to do this to your jungler, if you're going to say, okay, you're stuck without a leash, you're level 1 on Lee Sin W, good luck. SOFM's the good person to do it to because, like we mentioned, he's very creative with his pathing. Usually he uses it to hide from the enemy jungler, but now he can use it to deal with this less fortunate scenario. And already he's hit level 2 and he's pinging towards mid.
I like how cheeky Jinzhao was, flashing the emojis as soon as the enemy misses a CS. SOFM does not have the red buff, however.
There's the root, a follow-up from SOFM. Electrocute goes down, Kuro down to half, but doesn't blow anything.
Good play by Kuro right there, not willing to part with his summoners. Typically that gank, if it's a level 2 with red, does have a lot of kill threat, but not this time. Huh.
This is interesting. Andy is very low on mana, but they're still going for the 1v1. Meteor has the advantage while SOFM's isolated, but he's forced out, forced to leave. And it looks like SOFM's just coming in for another gank. Oh, Resonating Strike not going to land. He's going to look for it still, forces the flash from ADD.
I have to say that looks like a miscommunication from Meteor's end. He basically leaped in and took free damage from SOFM all the way towards the top side. So it definitely did not look like that was an intentional leap for the team's communication. And we could see maybe a bit of dysfunction between the two Korean solo laners and the Chinese jungler of BLG.
And this is absolutely crazy for SOFM because now off of this play, he's gotten his second Scuttle Crab. He got pressure on the jungle, pressure on both solo lanes, and now he's looking for a repeat gank top. But meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Asura getting engaged on. Ignite's gone down at this point. Aftershock from Maestro keeps him healthy, but that's half health on both of Snake's bottom laners.
Yep, still a good trade from BLG, even though they do expend one extra summoner right there. Great play from Maestro as well, just to keep back the Alistar, make sure he can't get that stun in the end.
Andy now just going to be able to shove out the lane after forcing Kuroda back a little bit. Both of them going to need to get their first item spikes in the tier now picked up for Kuro. He can start working towards that late game.
And this is a favorable matchup for the Rise. He still packs the same engage potential as a Lissandra with the Realm Warp and the Instance Crowd Control. Also in the later phases of the game, BLG do have that 1-3-1 win condition with the Urgot and the Rise in the side lanes as well. So I disagree with the Colonel on this one. I know the Colonel favors Snake's composition, but I don't really think so. I feel like BLG, in terms of their champions, you know, early strong game, good late game win condition. All they need to shore up is the deficit that they acquired with the with Meteor versus SOFM.
Well, that's the thing. Compositionally, sure, I can see where you're coming from with BLG being on the better end of it, but in terms of gameplay thus far, SOFM has been running a clinic on Meteor. You have to consider that if this were literally any other jungle scenario, if SOFM had had a regular Lee Sin start, getting both scuttles, forcing summoners top, forcing the jungler out of his own jungle and the river would be an incredible start. The fact that SOFM did that with just a W at level 1 is absolutely insane.
Yeah, he's acquiring so much advantages, and I want people to pay attention to the red buff, still up for SOFM. This is something I really like about his jungle pathing, is that he keeps the red buff up to maximize his gank potential. A lot of times he doesn't even take his own red during the first rotation, and Meteor does seem like he's taking a lot more damage on those Raptors than is normally seen. Probably not doing the best job at leashing that.
Seems a little bit like Meteor's been thrown off his game. He usually likes to go for the more aggressive, in-your-face jungle style, but so far, he's just been sitting back and farming up.
Yeah, early game mistakes are quite costly. I do want to see what SOFM is going to do with his first red buff. Mind you, this is not the second one, the first red buff. He should be looking for a gank very early on. We already see a roaming hit squad forming up between him and Andy.
This is something you wouldn't have seen with Mala, but looks like they've called it off for now. SOFM just going to clear out the scuttle, and Ward will spot him out. Yeah,
good warding by ADD to keep himself safe. Remember, he lost the flash in the early skirmish. He does have to find ways to... oh, he is in a very bad position, though. That we could see a ward hop to avoid the vision. Is Meteor going to walk in blind?
Whoops. Blast cone not popped yet, but that's a ton of damage onto Meteor. Not enough traded back onto SOFM, but now the re-engage in the bottom lane. Asura forced to flash out. Ignite goes down once again. Hook onto Kina will not be enough. And Asura is just getting absolutely abused here, but still, Snake wants to keep it going. They say, you want to go top? We're going top. We're going top now. ADD stuck under the tower, so low. Is it going to be first blood? Airy takes it down for Flandre.
It was pretty close. It was a very good disdain coming out from ADT to dodge out on the crowd control. You can't really stop that spell once it gets going, but still the last tick of damage does secure the first blood, and this is really more action than we've seen compared to when Mala was playing. So it does look like Snake used their Chinese Lunar New Year break quite well, and we're seeing a lot more action on the map. This is quite reminiscent to the way that FPX have been playing with Doinby.
And you look now at what this has done to the game state, and Flandre got a lead there with that Victor top. Yeah, you expect range to do decently well into Urgot, but there's so much pressure onto ADD, the repeat ganks, just stopping him from really getting anything done.
It's quite interesting build as well. He's going to go for the, I believe, the Iceborne Gauntlet, just with tankier side. There's a replay, Snake controlling River. They've already made sure that Meteor was nowhere near the scene on the previous engage. And beautiful damage calculation. SOFM backing out at the exact right time, even getting Ignite from ADD. Of course, that came from the the Keystone.
I'm actually impressed so far in the bottom lane here, because we've seen Asura get engaged on, hard engaged, ignited, all that by Kina and Jinjiao repeatedly. But he's still only down like 7 CS.
Oh, it's about to get worse though. The lane position is quite poor for Snake. I think they did spot out. Yes, they definitely did spot out Meteor. Very good ward placement, possibly from Maestro there.
I don't want them to try and bait this, because I don't think they'll get the better end of it.
They're losing a lot of CS there. It's a great freeze by BLG.
Oh, but now, Snake and BLG, it might be the mid lane jungle 2v2. Meteor secures the scuttle. Oh my god, that flash from Maestro! They really want that kill. They pick up Meteor. SOFM gets his first kill of the game, but they're not looking for the dragon just yet.
And even with the winning bot lane, BLG cannot keep Snake's bot lane from arriving on the scene first. A bit of a perplexing play for me. I feel like, again, we're seeing the difference in communication speed between the jungler and the lanes. BLG, that was a situation where if your bot lane is that far ahead, then maybe they should have been able to keep Asura, the Kaisa, in lane, but it looks like they held on to their freeze just a little too long, and Snake, with a very heads-up play, able to punish it.
Snake's really looking so much better. You know, they were about to start their dragon, decided, okay, probably not, we don't have the pressure anymore, and they're making smart. Oh no, Flandre, I was so happy with his laning, but now he's starting to pay for his hubris. Goodbye, Fear Beyond Death from downtown.
Ooh. Great three-point shot right there. Flandre roaming into the enemy jungle without his own jungler by the side, and pays the ultimate price for it.
Really unfortunate for Snake, because I was just about to praise you guys. Come on. Making it look so good, but now Flandre going for a little bit of over-aggression.
You gotta love that taxing.
It's efficient, you know. SOFM's all about the pathing this game. He says, okay, if Flandre over-aggresses at exactly this moment, I can get 3 extra CS. Flandre, you think you can kill ADD?
I hope that's not what actually went down, but you know, never let a cannon go to waste. Good efficiency right there. What I wanted to point out about like the previous play in the river was that BLG does have full control of the bot side. They have a very strong winning bot lane, and that was one of the better punishes of a freeze that I've seen this split. You know, very heads-up play, just instantly collapse on the enemy jungle, and Jinzhao and Kina were not in place to really counteract the play. SoFM so far still running circles around the map. This is a much more favorable trade for Snake than it is for BLG.
Oh, but it looks like it's going to be spotted out. SOFM did this last time. Oh. That's cheeky. It's unfortunate that he wasted that much time, but it's very good that he stayed safe there. It's unfortunate because I'm really happy with how SOFM is playing these things, but he just keeps being like half a second later early.
I love that spider sense from ADD. He's just like, you know what? I haven't seen SOFM in a while. I bet he's up to something sneaky. Snake in the previous split actually had one of the highest Herald takes. Flandre, of course, always ahead in lane. And SOFM able to play towards the strong side of the map. So it's great by ADD to sniff that out.
Flandre going to now secure the Rift Scuttler, get a little bit extra vision. And it looks like all 3 members of the top side for Snake want to go for this.
I think it's more than 3. I think it's a full 5-man.
Oh my god. I didn't notice that. Now they're sacrificing the bot lane tower, though.
So they're going to give up first tower gold and all of the stacks here. I really wonder where they want to drop this Herald.
It would have to be top, right?
Yeah, it feels like it has to be top. I wonder if they want the lane now. Something you can do if the enemy takes the tower down like this earlier on, since both their Lissandra lane and Flandre's lane actually have a lot of wave clear, they don't really have to force the issue as fast as they want to, but they are going to go for the straight up trade. The potential play I was thinking about was just trying to freeze out the bot side, but they want the gold now.
Andy in a little bit of trouble here. 3 men coming in. He gets the root onto 2. He goes for the Frozen Tomb onto Kuro. Almost gets the kill and gets himself out without the use of his flash. Now 4 in the mid lane going to punish that tower quite severely. But Andy, that was a really good save 4 versus 1.
Yeah, and it might pull Snake ahead in the trade so far. They've already got 1 tower, but never mind. Jinzhao is there to clean up the mess. So it's 7 turret platings, plus first brick gold down for BLG, but Snake actually come out ahead in the gold lead. So
Flandre getting teleported on. 3 members of BLG are here as well. I don't think you're going to be able to outplay this one, but he's trying to get the root onto Kuro, but he's already below half health. He's just running for his life straight into ADD, and Meteor picks up the kill.
Just going a little bit too forward. Well done on the teleport from Kuro. After the play against Andy in the mid side, even without his flash, instantly goes for another aggressive play to counteract it out. And this is shaping up to be one of the closest games that we've seen Snake play all split long. Usually they're marginally ahead in the early game or really far behind.
It's looking very similar to that IG series so far. Lots of early game proactive play from Snake, but a little bit of mispositioning keeps punishing them. This time, though, it's going to be on Flandre's head how this game goes, and I want to see him play a little bit more defensively. He was up that far without vision.
Yeah, and you really have to say both kills that BLG have gotten so far have came from the misfortunes of Flandre's travels as he goes too far into the lane, into the abyss, and gets picked off by BLG. However, we look at the macro picture so far, I actually feel like Snake is pretty happy with the position they're in right now. Remember that this is more of a late game, team fight oriented composition, and now we're going to see a 3-man down into the bot lane. Good heads up play by ADD.
They're just focusing on this tower. They don't care that they're going to lose the kill. They are going to potentially trade tower top. So with Snake giving up so much when they're trying to get these little advantages, is it still worth it?
I think their game plan is pretty straightforward. They just want to make sure Asura can't hit his item spikes when he needs to. So they're avoiding the Lucian and making sure Kaisa can farm a free lane. Even if they lose gold elsewhere on the map, they feel like it's a worthwhile trade. Asura, like we were talking about, has been the main damage dealer for the team. In fact, he's been doing 33% of the team's damage. Even with the addition to Andy, who we expected to be more aggressive, it does still look like Snake need that win condition.
Now SOFM just back into his jungle, not going for anything aggressive now, but BLG have absolutely lit up the top side of the map, and this makes me a little bit nervous for Flandre again.
And BLG, for them, this is not a composition that they can't, that they're completely out of the game with when it goes late. Like we were talking about, the 1-3-1 composition is still definitely there for them. They're looking at the best power spike an AD carry can have with the Lucian. SOFM, please no Lee syndrome.
He's not going to go for it just yet. He sees all 5 are here in the middle lane. Flandre's rotating down to respond. They're trying to get a pick here on SOFM.
It's going to be a double Mountain Drake coming up, and with BLG's composition, they could very well start an early Baron with this. Snake are going to take their chances, engage.
Control ward cleared out now. Andy not going to follow the glacial path, so for now it looks like they're just trying to get pressure around the dragon and force BLG off.
And you never really want to give double dragon to a team that has a Rise and a Lucian with the Blade of the Ruined King. A bit too risky on that end.
Oh, but BLG, they don't want to give this one up so easily. Flandre sitting there on the flank, but now Andy has already been zoned out of the fight. So if BLG come down for this, now
they get Meteor.
They got Meteor with the hook, and now he gets blown up by Flandre. Andy says, this is not my time to come back in. ADD rooted up. SOFM still on the chase, as is Asura. Killer Instinct forward. Kuro on the side, gonna get taken down. 2 kills for Snake.
Maestro, the absolute hero of this fight so far. 2 consecutive hooks, bringing BLG members to their death. And even though with the late game composition, they come out ahead in the team fights.
Kina knock up onto 2, not gonna matter. It's very close to being a much more dangerous fight there for Snake.
Hook City happening in Chongqing right now. They should change their name.
Well, then they'd have to change all the road signs, Clement. I mean, that's just a logistical nightmare. Sort of like this team fight.
So Meteor does come out of the invisibility, tries to get a cheeky W steal on the Drake, but pays with his life. Maestro with the great prediction hook to catch Meteor as he goes around, and then he follows it up again with another flash play into a hook to kill Kuro. That just made it such a one-sided affair.
Maestro's been very impressive to me this game. You know, on the first Dragon fight, he was the one who came in with that engage, the flash hook with the lantern on the Thresh, and now he's making pick after pick and really providing for Snake in these team fights.
And we have to mention that this is actually Maestro's first Thresh game this split so far. He's been much more of a Tom Kench and Braum player trying to protect Asura. But this time, we're showing some of that engaged spirit come out from Snake. Maybe this is something that they were missing in their previous games.
So far, Snake is playing a lot better of a game than before, but we are starting to trend towards that 20-minute mark. This is where Snake has a little bit more trouble, and BLG are looking in a great spot to capitalize on their late-game lead.
Yep, if you're a Snake fan, this is typically when you want to sound the alarms and remind your team to defend the Baron, because that's what cost them the series versus Invictus Gaming. They had a great early game as well, but could not defend the top side. So that's going to be the big point of improvement that we want to see from them.
Especially with the vision and the warding, which admittedly, now they're doing a decent job of, but you cannot let Flandre get caught out. You cannot let your side laners be without any idea of where the enemy team is, because you're just going to lose objective after objective.
It's good force by BLG, avoiding all of the hooks, the Maestro was throwing out. And it does look like they're just going to transition to a 1-3-1 strategy. It's going to be up to Snake to pick their timings and really punish one of these side lanes as fast as possible. Pincer it out and make sure that BLG don't have that much of a map pressure that they can transition toward Baron.
Literally, as the 20-minute mark spawned, as the Baron animation was coming up, BLG said, all right, it's time to do our thing. We'll split up into these side lanes and keep the pressure. And for Snake, how are they going to deal with this? Because if they want to go towards these late game team fights, I don't feel like they have the lead right now, and they don't have the objective control.
and they might not be able to force BLG into the 5v5s. I think that's the biggest problem for their composition so far. The win conditions for a 1-3-1 comp is if all 3 lanes are past the river, there's no way you get a bad trade. Because even if an enemy is able to snipe off one side of the map, you should get chip damage in the other 2. But BLG are going to be the ones to go aggressive.
Deja vu, the Lissandra almost getting caught out. Good Glacial Path bait, but it looks like this time no one's coming to save the mid laner of Snake. Maestro wants to get the Lantern there. There's the Frozen Tomb from Andy. No flash, the Lantern expires. Now Andy and Maestro both in trouble, and Snake are just trying to capitalize mid. They lost Maestro, and there goes Andy. But can Snake get anything in the rest of the map? Looks like they'll get a tower.
So Snake, overall in that trade, that was 2 deaths and a teleport expended for BLG's side, but it does open them up to a relatively fast Baron, and Flandre is going to have to teleport into this situation to keep their hopes alive, really.
Well, that's even if they want to do anything. It's 4,000 health on the Baron. Teleport's coming in. This is far too late. And now, great headbutt. Flandre, I don't think you want this angle.
How does this keep on happening? Snake have one of the lowest first Baron rates in the LPL currently at 14th. Only a 33% chance of getting that first Baron, and you know, we were talking about this again and again. That's kind of BLG's win conditions, but Snake, they always seem to lose grasp of that Baron when it comes to the 20-minute mark.
Well, this is that exact play is what happened in the IG series. Mala instead was on the Lissandra, pushing top, overextended, got caught out, and suddenly Snake filed in to try and save him, and all died. This time, granted, they only sent Maestro, but that's 2 kills down right where the Baron is.
Different players, same play. It's almost a little bit unfortunate how well we know these teams by this point. But Snake are looking for a cheeky engage. Maestro could do it again. He's not spotted here.
Only Flandre spotted by the plant. He's going to go straight onto the dragon. Maybe trying to bait out Maestro. Oh, hook goes wide. Force the flash, though, from Jinja.
I like what Snake are doing. They're grouping up S5, trying to get catches as BLG's 1-3-1 is taking form and trying to create map pressure by pushing out the side lanes. So even though that was BLG are still going to come out ahead of this just because Kuro is doing such a good job at the top side, knowing his win conditions, I felt like that was the correct play on Snake as well.
Both teams doing their very damnedest to stay into the game, but now with the pressure of the 1-3-1, with the Baron buff alive for the next minute and a half, this is starting to look a lot scarier for Snake.
It's definitely one of those situations where Snake are going to be forced to be the ones to engage. If they can't pick their moments, BLG will slowly chip at the towers and run away with the game. They even have the Baron, which is probably the best buff that you could get for a strategy like this.
The problem, too, is Snake don't have the vision to really get any kind of offensive pick unless they get a great hook. Forces the flash from ADD, and now the ultimate from Flandre going to force everyone off the wave. They saved 15 seconds.
Yep, but they still don't get the engage that they need against the 1-3-1. The most common strategy is you just go for the 3-man, see if you can pile in with the 4v3. It looks like Snake are going to try that strategy once again. They've already lost their mid, and Andy has not been doing the best against Kuro in the top side. Could not defend the tower, so Snake actually end up losing on both ends.
Inhib tower down, 5 men still remaining for the squad of BLG, and Baron buff still ticking at least for the next 40 seconds. If they get an inhib tower off this is going to be so much harder for Snake to come back from. They need to get an engage in the next few seconds.
You never really want to hard focus on the Rise just because he can escape with his Realm Warp. So I feel like it has to be the mid lane where they look for the pick, and here they go.
W gets it onto ADD. There's the Dragon's Rage into the hook. ADD's down. Snake has defended the push.
There's still 17 seconds left on the Baron. I think that's about as many towers as they will lose on this single push. A little bit unfortunate there from ADD. Does burn his flash as well in that engage.
Now Snake going really aggressive here into the bottom side, but they don't know that they've been spotted on a ward. They want to take down the red buff. Looks like BLG just going to give it over.
So Snake have bought themselves time to go for their second win condition, but look at this.
Uh-oh, Andy once again getting caught out on the Lissandra. Glacial Path is followed up, but there's Kuro, Frozen Tomb. He does not have anyone around to save him. So Andy once again on the Lissandra. This has just been the problem all game here for Snake.
I really like Kuro's plays here, though. They're so smart. Like, people don't expect the teleport these days. The teleport is so punishing if you use it incorrectly. You can't cancel it, and we don't really see that many plays where a mid laner just goes up to a lane, teleports there, and just snipes someone off. So really heads up play, and I'm surprised he was able to pull the trick off twice in a row this game.
BLG have just been absolutely dominating Snake here with these plays, and they know that this is how you abuse them. If you find a solo laner by themselves, chances are they might be overextending, and if you have the better vision control, which at the moment isn't hard with the pressure BLG has, Snake just start to collapse.
And we see BLG now with a 6k gold advantage. The entire red side of Snake is lit up by BLG wards at this point. It's going to be a hard path to fight themselves back into the position where they can actually contest this Baron. And we have to remember that Kuro, with the amount of map plays that he's already been doing, he could very well use a Realm Warp to the back of Snake's composition and just catch anyone off guard.
SOFM caught out by Meteor, forced to blow the Dragon's Rage, but will stay alive for now. And the shining hope here for Snake, of course, is if they want to go for these late game team fights, Asura has just hit 3 items. He still has his Rage Blade, his Hurricane, and his Storm Razor. So he has options now. He has the damage, but the question is how they're going to actually get into a position where they can fight. Oh no.
I think it's going to be fine.
Okay, I'm getting senses of deja vu every time I see the camera zoom over on someone from Snake.
They definitely know what they're up against. So we see Snake trying to clear out the Raptor Pit, give Andy a good angle to find a sudden engage. The way that Snake has been winning their team fights really has been about catching out members, using their single target crowd control to snipe someone out. Now ADD is putting himself in a really bad position.
Oh, ADD might be the saving grace here for Snake, but BLG are just starting at the Baron. If they can win this engage and get the Baron in time, that's the entire game, but they pick off ADD. BLG forced to back off of the Baron, and now Snake looking on the offensive.
I feel like a prophet. You know, whatever I say just happens on screen. But once again, I feel like BLG, ADD definitely overextended in that spot. I can understand his goal of trying to zone out the team by Snake, but going a little bit too far forward against someone like Lissandra, really paying the price right there. I don't think Snake can fully commit onto this, however. They don't really have a tank on their team. They're going to take a lot of damage from this Baron.
Teleport coming in here from Andy. Good zoning from Flandre. Keeps them out of the pit. 1100 left. Baron secured by Snake, and now they're trying to turn the fight. Kine on the front line. Tries to get the knockup. Lands it onto 3. Teleport coming in from ADD. But can he even get anything at this point? Maestro, last man standing, but his team should be able to get out of this. Oh, Andy, be careful, man. The Realm Warp comes in, and now they have to turn it. Kina falls. Jinjiao getting so much damage from the side, and Meteor coming in from the flank. Flandre's low. SOFM's low. Andy's down. Asura still alive, putting out the best damage he can, but he's not able to get Jinjiao, and suddenly Snake are routed. They need to get back to the base, and Flandre and SOFM will make it out alive.
Oh, that was such a close fight by Snake right there. That was a situation where BLG could have routed Snake's entire team and just finished the game with that single push. But miraculously, SOFM and Flandre actually, and Andy, sorry, managed to stay alive on the right side against a full health Kha'Zix. Great Dragon's Rage, kicking away the damage source, and then preserving both Baron buffs to get away from that situation. Really dicey play at the end of it, but Snake do come out ahead.
BLG, you know, showing their strength as a team fighting team there. They were able to get the advantage after a point where it looked like they had absolutely mispositioned and lost all hope. But Snake managed to hang on, as you say, still 2 Baron buffs up, and might be able to pick up their 3rd Dragon of the game.
Yeah, BLG had such a good start of the fight. I thought the game was going to end right then and there. You know, Jinjiao surviving the trade with Asura, even expending the Kai'Sa's flash in the engage as well. And it looked like Meteor was going to be able to pick off the remaining members of SOFM and Lissandra, but they get out by the skin of their teeth to extend the game and preserve the Baron buff.
But now, BLG back on the map. They have to contest with the Baron now for the next minute and 40, but they still have so much control over the jungle, so much control over the lanes. Flandre needs to be careful. Realm Warp's coming in to his tower. He just has to follow it, but he's stuck between the worst case scenario in every direction. And once again, one of Snake's solo laners gets caught out, but this time, I don't know if they can recover.
Kuro has been the master tactician this game. So many catches with his globals. That's the 4th catch on a solo laner from Snake right there. That's really impressive map awareness, and it's quite refreshing to see someone play the Ryze like this at this level. We haven't seen the Ryze be a priority pick for quite a while now, but with the Aurelia nerf, we should be seeing more of him.
BLG pressuring onto the tower. Baron buff, 55 seconds remaining, but only SOFM has it left. The inhibitor going to be threatened even through the Baron buff because Flandre's still not up for 10 seconds. BLG gonna back off having gotten the inhibitor tower. Granted, no objectives left on the map, but this means if they want to, 1-3-1, 4-1, every option is open to them.
I don't think the 4-1 is necessarily something they can go for. The 1-3-1 is not necessarily something they can go for at this point. I feel like ADD has bargained away probably a little too many of his chips at this point where he can continue to be a solo lane split pusher. Snake are on the map with their double clouds.
Maestro not able to land the God Hand hook, and now he's getting engaged on Jinjiao, blowing the culling, and the ultimate from ADD finally takes him down. Fear beyond death. The fear lands onto nobody, though. SOFM getting flanked. Meteor jumps in, not able to find anyone. Asura still alive, wants to turn the damage onto ADD, not able to find any purchase, and now Snake are backing off, trying to kite. Flandre slowed up there a little bit by Kuro, but they're keeping the kite on, and Flandre has so much capability to do damage. But the chase, Meteor with a huge slow. Jinjiao gets engaged on Andy, not able to find him. Jinjiao still alive. If Asura can get any kills here, he turns it in. Killer Instinct not going to be able to follow up. Realm Warp should be able to save the rest of BLG, but what a close fight.
Oh, and that's the kiting potential that Snake's composition does provide them. You could see that they couldn't run away from the situation. Meteor had that slow with the spike racks onto the enemy team, but Flandre and Asura able to turn that fight around. That was so much AoE damage coming out from the Runan's Hurricane on Asura's part. I thought that he was going to be able to clean it up. You can see Kuro going out down to half health, him getting a massive Decathian Rain on the backside of that, and BLG call it quits.
At this point in the game, it feels like BLG's team composition is kind of timing out in these team fights because they're still able to get these picks onto the solo laner, sure, but in these most recent fights, that last one specifically, Asura was all but one auto away from nearly getting a full team wipe. Everyone was below like 20% health.
That was a scary team fight for BLG right there, and like you were saying, their 5v5 isn't as strong as Snake's composition right there. I think a large part of it is that they don't really have the full lockdown potential, and Snake can kind of kite away from their situations. They have the Lantern to pull someone out, and if you look at the itemizations, Lissandra's not going to be very easy to focus down. SOFM finally has his Guardian's Angels up as well, so even though BLG has been able to snipe maybe 1 or 2 members, they really haven't had that fight where they could clean up on Snake's comp.
This is a great position for them to be in for Snake, but Kuro, once again, has been the X factor this game. He's been able to find these picks,
so good.
Able to find these crazy rotations for his team, even that last team fight saving everyone from certain death. So it's going to be all up to him, all up to the shot calling of BLG to see if they're able to find a way into Snake's base.
This is one of those games that it's even, as a hypothetical, even if BLG doesn't make it, I kind of feel like Kuro is the MVP of the game. His play calling this game has just been so amazing. 4 catches to take away any momentum that Snake possibly could have had. And you have to remember, 2 of those catches were, one of those catches was when Snake actually had the Baron buff. Once more, he's doing it again.
Oh,
ADD
no.
probably can't split push, but Kuro still can.
Snake want to turn onto the Baron here. They can't go back to contest Kuro, so at worst, they'll lose the tower and lose the team fight. TP coming in, but Asura gets a pick onto the side. Flandre goes down, Fear Beyond Death, but everyone else on Snake makes it out. The Realm Warp coming in from Kuro, but it won't find anyone just yet. Asura stays safe despite the vision. Maestro, the hook goes wide, and suddenly Snake needs to run out of here. Andy might be able to get away. The blast plan over the wall keeps him safe for now, but Kuro still on the chase. No tower here to help him. There's the Glacial Path. Asura comes in with the burst, and Kuro goes down. This time the shutdown is in Snake's favor, and they might be able to hold on to the base, but that inhibitor is looking in a lot of danger. Jin Zhao pushing in onto it. ADD in here as well, but Asura puts out so much damage. If Snake can get the engage, they might be able to get a kill, but they just want to be happy with that inhibitor still being alive.
Yeah, this is something that BLG does not want to contest. Andy with home guards rushing out of the base, you have to back out as soon as possible or else you're going to get caught. So I felt Kuro went a little bit too far forward. One of his only mistakes this game. He felt like Snake probably would have responded to the teleport in the bottom inhibitor, so he felt pretty safe on chasing down Andy. However, that was not the case. Snake, you know, they're a team that likes the chaos, likes the kills. They're my good old LPL boys, so they did go and punish Kuro instead, and they even got the defend on the bottom inhibitor as well.
Their team fights this game are looking a little bit like an unrefined FPX in terms of the style. Granted, you're not going to be seeing the same roles playing the same positions, but you have that sort of controlled chaos where you can force them off and make them slip up in a moment where you know you have control. And this has given Snake now a Baron buff with 2 minutes remaining. They have advantage in Dragons, but they're down 6 towers. This is a chance for them to remedy that.
That was a super risky situation. I think Kuro did as much as he possibly could to set up the play where Snake were forced to go onto the Baron. However, the problem for me was that Meteor died way too early on. Like, Snake was not in the clear of securing that Baron even, but with the positioning of Andy, they're able to take away the snipe.
Asura really out of position, but ADD
really
might have gone a little bit too deep. Gargoyle Stoneplate keeping him alive for now, but now it's popped down. ADD so low, they might be able to get the return damage. Ultimate from Flandre ticking in the back line. Finally, Andy goes down. Asura is still alive. Jin Zhao is down, and now Snake are going to win the team fight without question for the first time this game. SOFM gets the shutdown, and Snake have a Baron buff for another minute with a near ace.
That fight was on the knife's edge. BLG could have cleaned out that fight, but out of the chaos, Maestro with the master hook gets Jin Zhao by the tails of his coat, drags him in, and instantly kills him with the help of SOFM. So another great play coming out from the support of Maestro. The first time Thresh this split shows us what he's been practicing.
Maestro been showing up huge this game, and now Snakes have 30 seconds remaining on the Baron buff. They're looking for the Nexus towers. Meteor on the side, might be looking for the engage here.
They get SOFM.
They get SOFM, but the GA's popped. Meteor goes down. He doesn't have that luxury, and now the second Nexus tower goes down. This could be the game. Four-man knockup from Kina. Snake,
can they do it?
One more auto, and they get it. Snake take game 1 versus BLG.
Oh, what a thrilling game so far. Back and forth, each team understanding their win conditions so well. Two standout players for me have to be Kuro and Maestro. It was a battle of the map tactician, the map hacking Rise versus the god hook of Maestro to keep Snake in the game once again, one time after another. Whew. Like, I feel like both of these teams had such good moments right here.
We know what Snake did wrong that game. It was basically a battle of who got caught out the least, because I feel like for a lot of it, ADD, Flandre, and Andy were the points of focus, because as soon as one of them got caught out, the other team would make a huge play off the back of it.
Yeah, it definitely was the case right here. Very back and forth. However, I will say from the drafting phases and the game plan, what went wrong from BLG, I felt happened very early on in the game. They didn't really have the early game advantages that we expected out of the bot lane or the top side. I feel like the early duel that happened between Meteor actually happened twice, where he was forced out of his own jungle, really cost BLG their early game. And later on in the team fights, a lot of those team fights actually favored BLG. Maestro was there to hook whoever was out of position and instantly make it a 5v4 team fight. So, you know, in terms of the macro play, the game plan, and the drafting, I actually favored BLG. I actually like what they showed here, but Snake outplayed them in multiple team fights.
It feels a lot like whose mistakes cost them the least, because you had Kuro, who was playing absolutely beautifully, but then you had ADD and Meteor, who would sometimes step a little too far forward, go a little bit too far in on the engages, whereas for Snake, a lot of the times they had a good plan in the early game. They were doing pretty well, and then suddenly Flandre got caught out. Oh no. And then they're like, okay, we can recover this, I promise. We've got this back. Flandre.
But you know what? I just feel like the catches from Kuro were so good that I almost don't blame Snake for falling to those. It's been a long time since we've seen Rise be really showing up as a top priority pick right there, and I think it might be a new champion that people have to watch out for Kuro. It's not only the Galio and the Zoe. You have to keep in mind his Rise is pretty frightening as well.
Yeah, Kuro's Rise definitely going to be a contended pick for the next game, but for now, stick around. We'll be back with Game 2 of BLG versus Snake.